A good fountain does more than just keep your garden watered or provide drinking water to people walking by. Fountains are often the perfect finishing touch to great works of architecture, providing a dramatic flourish that wows crowds of spectators and pulls in audiences from far and wide. Most boats sail on water, but there's one in Spain which is completely made of the wet stuff. Nobody can board this liquid boat, which can be found in the city of Valencia by the beach, but that doesn't stop plenty of people turning up to gaze upon it in wonder. Part of the beauty of its design is its simplicity. It's just the steel frame of a sailing ship, with streams of soft water giving the rippling appearance of a sail, and more powerful jets being used to provide the firmer look of the boat's body. Known as Fuente del Barco de Agua to Valencia's natives, this art installation on Malvarosa Beach is popular with Instagrammers and photo hunters, who will stop for the perfect picture before moving on to one of the resort's many nearby seafood restaurants. Water is blue, and so you'd expect fountains also to be blue, although the spray often turns them white. That's not always the case for the Castle Square Fountain in the Welsh city of Swansea in the United Kingdom. For 9 days of every year, a special dye is added to the water, which turns the liquid a vivid shade of red. That gives it its nickname, the Blood Fountain. The gory appearance can make it look like something out of a horror movie, although when you see it with your own eyes, it's quite beautiful. The dye is added on March 1st every year, which is St. David's Day, and the water stays red until March 9th. Visitors are welcome and encouraged to come and take pictures, although they are advised not to get in the water, or even get too close to it. The same dye which gives the water its unusual shade can do the same thing to your clothes if you're not careful. One of the most beautiful fountains in the world opened in Uman in Ukraine in 2017. This is the stunning Pearl of Love Fountain, which combines an incredible show of light, color, and water with dramatic music. By focusing laser light on the jets of water, the fountain can display words and images as if they're floating in the middle of the air. That's thanks to the screen which is created by the water, which is over 600 feet long and 60 feet tall. More than 1 million visitors come to Uman every year, and the highlight of their visit is often taking in a show at the Pearl of Love, where holographic images are projected onto the shimmering screen as if the site was a unique cinema. Often, the water show is accompanied by fireworks for added effect, meaning this one-of-a-kind attraction takes over both the land and the sky above it. As the world prepared for the millennium in the late 1990s, many works of art and architecture all over the world were commissioned in celebration of the occasion. One of them was a whirlpool fountain named Sharpness in Sunderland, England. Located at the front of a luxury spa resort, it appears to rise straight out of the ground to welcome visitors. Although the fountain appears to be one solid block of water, it's wrapped in a thin, transparent acrylic cylinder to give it form. Stairs around the fountain allow visitors to stare down into the air vortex, which sits at its heart. Sharpness's unusual name comes from Homer's Odyssey, where it was the name of a siren who was transformed into a whirlpool by Zeus as a punishment for stealing oxen. That seems like harsh treatment, but there's nothing harsh about this beautiful water creation. A well-designed bridge can be an attractive feature in any town and city on its own. But when you combine that bridge with a fountain, you're guaranteed something truly spectacular. With a total length of almost 3,800 feet, the Banpo Bridge Fountain is the longest fountain in the world. Along its colossal length are 380 individual nozzles, emitting water at a rate of 190 tons every minute. To give the bridge fountain its dazzling array of color, there are also 220 giant lights fitted along the bridge to turn the water every shade imaginable. That's why it's been nicknamed the Moonlight Rainbow Fountain. None of the water fired out from the fountain is wasted. It all falls into the Han River and is then recycled back up into the fountain. If you want to pay it a visit, you'll find it in the city of Seoul in South Korea. But don't come during winter months. The Banpo Bridge Fountain is only active from April to September. Of all the fountains in the world, Few have split opinion and caused controversy, like the industrialist twisted concrete form of the Vallancourt Fountain in San Francisco, USA. It's a stark and modernist design, which didn't meet with universal approval at the time it was finished in 1971, and has never obtained it since. There have been several proposals to demolish it, but it's always survived at the 11th hour, and is now pumping water once more after a few years of inactivity. Artist Armand Vallancourt always intended it to be divisive. He even went as far as spray painting Free Quebec on the side of the structure the day it was unveiled. Its most famous moment came from 1987 when rock band U2 brought the city to a standstill by performing a free concert in front of the fountain, and then vandalized it by adding more graffiti of their own. You've likely heard of the Palace of Versailles in France, but you may be less familiar with the Peterhof Palace in St. Petersburg, Russia, which was built by Peter the Great as a direct response to Versailles after he saw it in 1717. There, you'll find the Grand Cascade of Fountains, which is modeled on one built for Louis XIV at Chateau de Marly. The Grand Cascade is a series of fountains built around a large two-story grotto, and it plays tricks on visitors. Reach for any of the fruit on the table statue in the grotto, and you'll be soaked with jets of water. There are 64 fountains here in total, the most grand of which is the Samson Fountain, which sits in the pool where the water collects. The mouth of the lion in this fountain shoots water nearly 70 feet into the air. The most remarkable of all the things about the Grand Cascade is that none of the fountains use a pump. The pressure is generated from the springs of water which sit above the fountains as they cascade down from the upper gardens. There are many amazing sights to marvel at if you visit the city of Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, but you can see King Fahd's fountain from almost anywhere in the city. The fountain is only a single plume, but it fires a solid jet of water 1,000 feet into the air. You wouldn't want to be stood too close to it when it's at full force. The water can reach speeds of up to 200 miles per hour. Although it's impossible to accurately measure the amount of water in the air at any one point, but it would be reasonable to estimate it as being in the region of 18 tons. The whole fountain is salt water taken directly from the Red Sea and then landing back into the same sea to be used again, meaning there's zero wastage. It's especially spectacular at nighttime, when the column of water is illuminated by lights. La Joute Fountain in Montreal, Canada, is the work of Jean-Paul Riopel and opened in 1969. The type of design you see here is known as a kinetic sculpture fountain and creates a fire-on-water spectacle that doesn't use any oil to burn. At the center of the fountain is a series of Gothic-style bronze sculptures, depicting both animal and human figures dotted around a pool of water in the basin. It completes its special party trick every 32 minutes, starting by creating a dome of water above the sculpture using the jets from the fountain. Behind the fountain, mist then forms on a series of grates, spreading from one to the next until the dome is full of mist vapor. Natural gas is then fired through the basin of the fountain and ignited by hidden devices inside some of the sculptures, which produces a ring of fire around the structure, lasting 7 minutes until the water puts it out. Not all fountains are designed to make observers happy and joyful. The Carousel Fountain in Nuremberg, Germany, was designed to remind us all of the frailty and impermanence of life. The name of the fountain translates roughly into English as the merry-go-round of marriage, and is surrounded by sculptures which depict the journey of a young couple as they meet, fall in love, begin dating, marry, and then die. Most worryingly of all, based on the sculptures, it would seem the couple dies at each other's hands. Because of the morbid theme, not everyone loves this fountain, which was created by Jürgen Weber in 1981. As if the gruesome human statues weren't enough, there are also terrifying giant lizards and other savage animals on show too. The fountain regularly attracts complaints from visitors to Nuremberg, but it remains in place to this day. Getting the fountain you can currently see in Nacka Strand, near Stockholm in Sweden, built and completed was the work of 40 years, but we think it was worth it. Known as God Our Father on the Rainbow, the statue was designed by Swedish sculptor Carl Mills and was supposed to commemorate the opening of the new United Nations building in New York in 1946. Nobody could agree on how to fund it, or where in New York to put it, so it was eventually canceled in 1954. Mills died a year later. 4 decades later, Mills's pupil Marshall Fredericks was finally commissioned to complete the work according to Mills' vision, and the 60-foot-high fountain was installed in Sweden. The sculpture is an arch, topped with a statue of God reaching into the heavens to put the stars into place. As water shoots in a jet stream from the tip of the arc, it falls away back into the water, thus completing the appearance of a semicircle and representing the circle of life as the fountain enters the water and then rises again. When Diana, Princess of Wales, passed away in August 1997, she was mourned around the world. Many acts were performed in her honor, including the formation of charities and the performance of concerts, but none will be so lasting as the Diana, Princess of Wales Memorial Fountain, which opened in London in 2004. Whereas the majority of fountains shoot water high into the air, this one is more gentle. Water cascades down slopes from 2 directions before gathering in a pool at the bottom. Some people feel it would be more accurately described as an oval stream bed. The path of the water is smooth on one side, but on the other, it's coaxed into forming rills, curves, and steps. The idea is that one side of the fountain represents the happier times in her life, and the other represents the turmoil she once endured. Over 500 pieces of Cornish granite were used in the construction of the fountain, which was designed using computer techniques which were considered cutting edge at the time of its design. It's now visited by millions of people every year. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and you will be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.